And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota, Gulf Coast Business Supply, and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that continues to celebrate the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such an amazing place to live, work, and play. And if you've been listening over the last few days, I've been sharing some lessons that we get from Coast Vue guests. So many common themes. A lot about planning, a lot about, inspiration and fuel, a lot about not dwelling too much on the past and setting big goals. But here's something from Mandy Hale that is something we ought to all think about, because it's not always about nailing down every detail of your plan and working the plan and measuring it, and what gets measured gets done. This is actually some good advice we should all think about. But here's what she said. You don't always need a plan. Sometimes you just need to breathe, trust, let go, and see what happens. So that's actually some good advice. I mean, we can get so rigid in our approach to goal setting, et cetera, that we forget the reality is that we need to enjoy life and trust, surround ourselves with positive people, and good things are going to happen. And speaking of good things are going to happen, I have always had tremendous respect for the O'Keefe family in Biloxi. When I think about the O'Keefe family, I think about public service and philanthropy. I can't help but think about my old friend Jerry O'Keefe. His incredible contributions to coastal Mississippi over so many years. We'll talk a little bit about him shortly, but his family continues to make a mark here in coastal Mississippi, and I'm really pleased to have my dear friend Jeffrey, formerly O'Keefe Sr., Jeff, I know him as Jeff, to join me here on Coast Vue to talk about Jeff's story, the O'Keefe family, and just whatever else comes to our mind. But Jeff, it's great to see you this morning, buddy.
Great to be with you, Ricky. I tell you, really appreciate the program you put together and the interviews you're putting out there, and just proud to be a part of it, And yeah, we miss the big Jerry, no doubt about it. He left an indelible mark on the coast and a legacy of family behind him. So we're proud to, be carrying that legacy on for sure.
Well, I tell you, it's amazing when I did a little bit of reading to prepare for today, just to kind of remind myself of some things. For example, it's hard to believe it's been 5 years. Well, it would be 5 years in August when he died. He died at 93 years old. But if you had to think about Jeremiah O'Keefe, his official name, think about Jerry's contribution to coastal Mississippi over so many years. This is a man who didn't let much time fly during his 93 years. He was always pushing to make this place a better place, wasn't he?
He was very involved in a number of manners along the coast, and whether it was politically or socially, and he led the charge on a lot of efforts that were fostered around the coast. He was approached by different people to spearhead significant events, and in addition to that, raising a very large family. And so
13 kids, Lord have mercy.
Got to take your hat off when you step back and just look at what he did and what all he nurtured in addition to that.
A World War II veteran, a decorated fighter pilot, ace pilot. He was in the House of Representatives. He was the mayor of Biloxi. I think some people might have forgotten that from 1973 to 1981, he was the mayor of Biloxi. But, I mean, he's a guy that constantly was reinventing how he was going to make a contribution to coastal Mississippi. He did it entrepreneurially, of course, through the funeral home business, but he created a life insurance company. He was deeply involved in the O'Keefe Museum. That's sort of how he defined his legacy later in his life. But, man, if you just center on that, you miss the whole story of what he contributed to this place, don't you?
You do. I'll never forget him talking about an older gentleman one time who happened to be standing outside a skyscraper, and he was kind of looking up at it, and he just, kind of looked at him there and got the sense that, maybe he had something to do with it, and approached him, and sure enough, the guy had just finished building that skyscraper, and when I think of the O'Keefe and those later projects in his life, I just believe he had kind of adopted that theory that you really have to stay busy doing something and trying to contribute along the way.
But he was, what's interesting about the O'Keefe Museum is that his relentless pursuit of creating something there that was going to be that as time would go and we would appreciate more what it means. Like, for example, to have this world-renowned architect in Frank Gehry and his whimsical approach to architecture sort of paired up with George Orr, who also had a whimsical approach to pottery. And bring these two guys together, and then to sort of have all this other stuff, the African American Museum and all these other things that to sort of go around that, and obviously the traveling exhibits that are part of that. His vision for that, man, he was relentless in his pursuit to create this special place, wasn't he?
Well, what had happened, Ricky, was while he was involved with other projects along the coast, he had been approached to be the capital campaign chairman for the Walter Anderson Museum in Ocean Springs, and he and Courtney Blossman worked diligently and raising the seed capital for that museum over there. And so, it became a really nice facility. And, my dad was never an artist himself, but he had an appreciation for art. And then, of course, when my mother passed, he was trying to think of a way to honor her memory is what it was. And I'll never forget when he got the idea. And he called me on the phone, and he had such excitement. I don't think he slept for 3 days. And he just had the idea of, at the time, Roland Weeks had fostered an Orr exhibit over in the Library and Cultural Center in Biloxi. I think it was back in about 1994. And so he had, got the idea to create that museum in my mother's memory, and hence that's why it's the Orr O'Keefe. It's really not about himself; it's about her. And he just wanted to honor her. She loved art. She loved music, and everything. And so that was the impetus for the museum itself. And of course, at that time, Frank Gehry wasn't involved. It was really originally going to be somewhat of a more modest project, but I think a friend came to him and suggested that connection between Orr and Gehry, and then boom, that idea was born. And Frank Gehry, they're doing projects all over the world, but and magnificent projects, but he liked that idea of pairing with the whimsical potter, as you say, and so that whole campus idea was born, pulling that facility together. And so it never really got to see it fully completed, but the family's continuing to foster his dream and continuing to work on it. In fact, I've got an exciting announcement. I don't know if you saw it on social media, but the museum just received a wonderful gift from Gordon C. Bailey. He was an executive sports and entertainment promoter. He lives out in Beverly Hills, California, and he's become a collector of self-taught artists, and he's collected a massive collection, and he goes around and he makes contributions to other museums of his artworks, of these emerging artists who have been recognized. And he's made gifts to the museum in Oxford up at Ole Miss, and he's made a gift to the Perez Museum in Miami, Crystal Bridges, and the Speed. But he selected the Orr O'Keefe. and he originally was going to donate 32 or 35 pieces, and he went back and actually hand selected 50 pieces that he's donated to the O'Keefe, and he really has garnered a lot of notoriety by what he's doing around the nation. So, you know, the dream's living on, and we're blessed by some of these people recognizing the whole concept that my dad envisioned with the project. So we're very excited.
Listen, you mentioned Roland Weeks, former publisher of the Sun Herald, who was the publisher before I became publisher of the Sun Herald, my mentor in life. They were the dynamic duo. Real quick, as we get ready to go to the end of the segment, Roland had this like low to the ground couch that I inherited when I became publisher. And one day your dad came by, sat down on that couch, and when he did, it just sunk, and he couldn't get out. So I had to get up and help him out. And I said, well, next time you come, Mr. Jerry, I'm going to have a different couch. So I called it, the new couch was called the Jerry couch, as he could come there and sit down and get out. It was a funny thing, kind of a nice chuckle that he and I had. But anyway, when we come back, I want to talk more about you and what you're up to these days, and you know, how's business and, you know, operating in the pandemic, et cetera. We'll be back after this break with my friend Jeff O'Keefe.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visits.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, casinoradio1063.com.
This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I have my friend Jeff O'Keefe. I've known him for an awful long time. You don't remember this, Jeff, but a long time ago. I'm not even going to say how long ago. You were a young guy. I was a young guy. and we had a mutual friend, and we were somewhere in Gulfport, and you were headed over to somewhere in Biloxi, and I got in the car with you, and we rode to Biloxi together. And what I remembered about you then, I don't know if this is true today, you drove really fast. If we live through this ride to Biloxi, I'm never going to get in the car with you again.
Oh,
But
that fast.
do you still drive fast? I'm just curious.
Well, I don't feel go super fast. I try to keep it under control. Let me put it that way.
I know you do. I know you do. Well, listen, man, you're a fifth generation family member to assume responsibilities for Bradford O'Keefe Funeral Home. And if we were to like end on that, that's a significant contribution in and of itself. But you're continuing the family legacy of being involved in the community. My kids know your kids, and your family continues to blossom, and I mean, it's going to be amazing to see what the future holds. Your kids are really successful. But let's come back to you for a second. What's it like to be someone who runs a business, who grew up in Biloxi, fifth generation? Tell me about this, what it's like to be part of the O'Keefe family.
Well, it's a privilege, is the way I feel about it. We've got a large and diverse family, and we in the latter years of my dad's life, we tried to pull together for some big family gatherings, and we're shooting for that this July, in fact, because he was the last of the Mohegans in his generation, and so now it's us, and I'm one of 13 children, and I'm number 10 down the line, and so I feel a sense that we want to pull that have that family get together, but we were very proud when we celebrated our 150th anniversary, and my dad was still here, and it was just a real special day on the home that he was actually born in, and he received a significant recognition that year. But for myself, it's just there were a number of operations that he had over his life, and but the legacy of our family business history is in the funeral home business, and that's kind of what I had focused on myself early on. There were some bigger and more glamorous avenues, but I just felt like we all have to do something in life, and I felt like, if you can help somebody through a difficult time like that, why, there's satisfaction in that, and being able to help people. And we receive feedback from that, and are very appreciative to be able to help. But one particular thing that kind of struck me is I encourage, if there's a takeaway, for people to interview their elders whenever they have, grandparents, great grandparents. If you have a chance to sit down and just whip out that iPhone or whatnot and record them, and jog their memory about some of what they have experienced in their life. My eldest sister, Maureen, spoke to my great uncle John, who was a former mayor of Biloxi and former adjutant general of the state of Mississippi, but in his later life told a story about Ocean Springs before it was named Ocean Springs. It used to be called Lynchburg, and of course, oftentimes there were people who owned vast tracts of land, and Mr. Lynch owned a vast tract of land, and they called it Lynchburg. I think it might have been Lynchburg Landing, in fact, but there was some occurrence. Mr. Lynch left town and not to return, and so it was later that the elders of Lynchburg got together, and there was a hotel downtown called Ocean Springs, and they decided to rename the town Ocean Springs, and that was how it got its name. And he talked about that story, and so that's just a snippet of what you can get out of these elders, and if you Google about Lynchburg Landing, you don't find much. And so one of those stories that largely went untold. And so I encourage people whenever they have an opportunity to talk to their elders and get some of those old memories to try to do that.
Jeff, that is really wise advice. That's really wise advice. So your dad actually was born in Ocean Springs, and he didn't come to Biloxi till he was 13. You were born in Biloxi, and you went to Notre Dame High School and University of Southern Mississippi, where I went to school. To the top, I might add. You're a proud member, as I am, of the Alumni Hall of Fame there at USM, and you've been involved in the foundation board like I've been involved. You've got so many community activities and professional activities you've been involved in, particularly in the funeral home industry, for so many years. But it was interesting, man, when you came out of school and you went directly into working in the accounting area of the funeral home and just learning every aspect of it and just kind of working your way slowly but surely up. There is a temperament there. And I love the way you said that, because you are dealing with people during some of the most difficult times of their life. But you guys have found such a soft, empathetic way to deal with families during very difficult times. And you feel honored to have that opportunity to help them through these difficult times, don't you?
Absolutely, I do. Yeah, it's a privilege to be able to work with the people and help them through those times. And toward that end, we are deploying new methodologies attached to our website that help people after a loss as well, because it's quite a transition. You get bombarded with so many things that have to be taken care of. And so it's a new way to kind of help people through that process, even after the service itself. But obviously, prearranging is a big facet. It's just a form of planning that people, it's like an extension of ordinary planning. And so many people choose to deploy those wishes in advance, and so we're happy to be able to help people with that aspect as well.
I know COVID has really created incredible challenges for your industry, for families specifically, because as we saw in the early days of COVID, when families would come together either at church or maybe when there's been a death of a loved one in a funeral, we often heard these stories coming out of there that's where there would be a super spreader among them, and the family would get it. And, it was just a terrible situation there in the beginning. But then you guys started to figure this stuff out, and you learned to operate in a safe way. But it's not been easy, has it?
It has not been easy. And, I think the worst part of it actually is where people had family members who were stricken with the virus, and they were unable to be with them to, hold and nurture. They were restricted from interaction. And then, beyond that, when a loss occurred, then there were restrictions on even being able to celebrate their life in a manner. And there were so many people who deserved to be recognized for their contributions and what they meant to their friends and community and family. And so it's really been, obviously technologies come in. There's been the streaming, which has helped. That's helped to be able to at least feed a little bit of that ceremony and to those that couldn't be there in person, but and help honor the life. But that's been tough. That's been tough for people.
I think about Jeff. I think about this a lot, and maybe one day I'm going to do a show that just focuses on this. There are some really important figures in Biloxi who died in the past year, some of them from COVID, that we never had the opportunity to really focus on them and to celebrate their lives the way that you would have normally done so if we had not had COVID here. One of the ones I think about, this is not a Biloxi person, but it's Drew Allen. Our friend Drew Allen.
Exactly.
He had a stroke just going into the COVID situation. He unfortunately passes away. and we weren't able to really celebrate his life. I intend to actually develop a whole show around Drew Allen because I had the opportunity to serve with him in so many capacities over the years and the community, Goodwill Board and many others. And he was so passionate and such a wonderful person. And, too many people like that, buddy, faded into the sunset over the past year, and we didn't get a chance to celebrate them. And I know it's been tough.
Well, that's true.
And final thought, Jeff, because we have less than a minute left.
Yeah, no, I would just say that the national funeral directors themselves are searching for a way to honor these people as well. And so it's certainly, we feel that with you.
Yeah, I know you do. Hey, listen, we're going to come back and talk again. We may actually come back around. We're going to talk offline. We may come back around and maybe put together a list of these names and what their contributions were, because I want to honor, man, there's some really substantial people who passed away this past year, and their families know it, of course, but maybe the community is not fully aware of that. But this has been Jeffrey O'Keefe, my dear friend from the O'Keefe family and from Bradford O'Keefe Funeral Home. We'll be back and have another conversation with him in the future. So thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it, buddy.
You, Rich.
When we come back, we have Jeff Duncan. We'll see you after this.
Coast Vue on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard to find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
Hey, South Mississippi, the future has arrived. It's 2021, and at J. Allen Toyota, we're here to serve you. Want to let you know that we have Allen's lifetime warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer-songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard, and,
wow.
All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute,
Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show. Every day, we're driving the debate in America with the fastest moving, hardest hitting, most comprehensive, fact-based commentary on the radio. We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth. Our show is a meeting place of ideas. We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show
on SuperTalk Mississippi. Whether you're brand new to the DIY craze or a seasoned veteran, the Handyman Show has something for you. Buddy Slowick shares tips and tricks on everything from odd jobs to complete build-outs, from small home repairs to serious construction. So no matter if you're at the master carpenter level or not quite sure how to use a level, the Handyman Show answers your questions with a healthy dose of humor and some great music too. Saturdays, 10 to noon on SuperTalk Mississippi and on SuperTalk TV.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota, Gulf Coast Business Supply, and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Well, back to Coast Vue. Really appreciate you joining us on 103.1, or maybe you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, or maybe you're listening on one of your favorite podcasts. However you choose to come to Coast Vue, we appreciate you being there. And I also want to thank our sponsors. We have terrific sponsors of this show, and without them, we wouldn't have this show. So thank you so much. Hey, I enjoyed that conversation with Jeffrey O'Keefe. The role that the O'Keefe family has played on so many dimensions here in coastal Mississippi over so many years is truly remarkable. And I've known Jeff O'Keefe for a long, long time, maybe most of my life. And he's a good friend, and he's someone I look forward to having back on the show. He's just really clued into what's happening, and it was a terrific conversation. If you missed it, go to YouTube or Facebook and take a good look at it. You'll be glad you did. Now let's shift gears. Friday is the day I get to visit with my friend Jeff Duncan from The Athletic. Jeff covered the Saints longer than anyone else on earth, which I also like to say, but he's kind of in tune with what's happening at the Pelicans these days. He's kind of a horse racing expert as well. We just had the Kentucky Derby. He loves golf and what's happening around that arena. He's just a sports enthusiast. But he works at The Athletic, and I want to start the conversation today, Jeff, first of all, saying hello. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great, Ricky. Things have calmed down a little bit since the draft and Derby week.
I know it has. Hey, I want to start the conversation today, as I was about to say, with a reminder about who The Athletic is. Let's kind of give the short story. Most people have heard this. But let's give the short story, and then I want to talk about what I perceive having a media background as a real competitive advantage of The Athletic, especially in the scope of the NFL draft. But kind of give us the short story on The Athletic.
Well, The Athletic is the largest sports writing subscription site in the world. So if you are interested in love sports writing, have favorite teams out there, I can't think of a better site right now to be on. We have over 500 reporters and editors all over the world, and we're growing. And like I said, we're now the fourth largest subscription site on the internet behind the New York Times, Washington Post, and Wall Street Journal. We're only 4 years old. So incredible growth at a rapid pace. And the thing that makes it unique, Ricky, is we have 6 editors and reporters based here in New Orleans, and that is replicated across the country. So really every major market we have reporters based in, and you can kind of pick and choose how you want your feed on your app or on your laptop, how you have the news disseminated to you. So if you happen to be an LSU football fan or an Ole Miss football fan, but you also have a favorite Premier League soccer team, you might be into the LA Lakers because you follow LeBron. All that can be kind of set up so that news and information streamlined right into your app and into your feed on your laptop. It's just really well thought out, and I can tell you it's an amazing place to work. The people that run it are very smart. And I'm very, very grateful to have this opportunity.
Two young men had this vision to create a non-advertising based business model, which is why it's a subscription-based model. And to hear that you have over 500 reporters and editors around the world, it's amazing they've been able to accomplish it. They had the dream that they started in 2016, and look where we are today. It's amazing, really. And here's the other point, and I have to always, it just always kind of makes me a little uncomfortable to say this, but it's definitely true. As newspapers around the country were struggling because print was dying and digital transformation was taking place, what The Athletic was able to do is go into these major markets and literally pick some of the most substantial sports figures in those communities in the journalism world. And I mean, as a result of that, they literally have an all-star collection of people. That's why you have the team you have here in New Orleans, and that's why they have Jeff Duncan, who's covered the Saints longer than anyone on earth. But if you look at the collection of names that they've been able to sort of amass under the umbrella of The Athletic, it's really incredible, isn't it, Jeff?
Yeah, I can give you a good example of that, Ricky. I'm working on a all NFL team, like the top NFL players of all time. We've got 6 reporters on our staff that are Hall of Fame committee selectors like myself. 6. I mean, there's only 48 in the whole country, and we've got that kind of institutional knowledge in the NFL, and that's replicated across every major American sport. Also, over in Europe, at the European soccer leagues, we have the best coverage of that by far. Anyone in Europe will tell you that. So it's just an amazing place to work, and I think they hit they really hit it by going subscription based. They modeled the company kind of after Netflix or Spotify, Amazon, realizing people will pay for premium content. I think that's the key. It's not the run-of-the-mill, grind-it out kind of stuff. They want us to go really in-depth and give you, the reader, something that you're not going to get anywhere else. And I think that's what distinguishes The Athletic.
It's really good. And as I mentioned, when you think about it within the guise of the NFL draft, man, I mean, it's unbelievable. And then you got draft experts, and you can literally go each draft pick and why they were substantial for that team, and whether, what the grades are going to be. I mean, everybody tries to do that, but The Athletic brings a very experienced skill set to that conversation, and it is like nearly unparalleled, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, well, look, our NFL staff has all been hired from ESPN and the top newspapers, like you mentioned, in the country. I mean, we're getting top of the line people because they all want to be a part of this amazing place. And our NFL draft coverage blew me away. I knew the plan, but to see it executed in live action. Dane Brugler, our NFL draft analyst, I was mentioning before we went on air. I mean, my Saints sources talked to Dane. I mean, they want to get information from him, the guys in the personnel department. That's how respected he is. And the draft guide that he puts out is unlike anything I've ever seen. And you get that free with the price of your subscription. And it's worth well more than the subscription to the Athletic. If you're into the NFL draft, there's nothing like Dane Brugler's The Beast guide that he comes out with. It's so in-depth. And there's just so many other, assets that you can monetize there. The podcasts that we put out. It really is. It's a growing platform. And I think in 5 years, it's going to even dwarf what we are now.
Okay, so let's go to the Saints NFL draft. It's interesting to read the various sources because one group might give them an A-, another one might give them a B-. I think I might have even seen a C+. I don't know if I remember seeing that or not. But the point is, people are not sure what to make of it. That's what I'm getting from the reading that I'm doing. What's your read on it?
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I think most people view it as kind of a blah draft because the Saints couldn't execute what they were their plan A was to go up and try and get one of the top 2 cornerbacks, J.C. Horn or Patrick Surtain from Alabama. They weren't able to do that. It was very difficult to go from 28, the bottom of the first round, all the way up in the top 10, which was what they were going to have to do. And if you think about it, Ricky, I mean, it's only been done a handful of times in the history of the league to go that far down all the way up. But another complicating factor was the fact that many of the top 10 teams that the Saints were trying to trade with were all run by first-year general managers. And if you are a first-year general manager, the last thing you're going to want to do is trade out of the top 10 and create a buzzkill for your fan base to go all the way to the bottom of the first round. You're going to want to make a splash and create some enthusiasm and some momentum in your organization. So it was just a very unique set of circumstances that prevented them from going up into the first round and really getting the guy they wanted.
You were mentioning offline about Mike Lombardi and something he said. Tell me about that.
Yeah, he actually reported, and I trust his reporting. I mean, Mike Lombardi used to be with a general manager with 2 different NFL teams, including the New England Patriots. So he's really wired in with the Patriots. And he reported today or earlier this week that the Saints tried to get up into the top 15 ahead of the Patriots at number 15 because they were targeting Mac Jones, Alabama's star quarterback, and that they tried to make a trade. I have talked to people within the Saints organization that have told me differently, but again, they are obviously biased. They were not able to execute the trade, so I trust what Mike Lombardi is saying, that the Saints were really, I know they were high on Mac Jones, but it surprised me they would trade up and take him in the first round. That's a very, very interesting development.
What's interesting about that, though, Jeff, is that I think back several weeks, literally several weeks, when you and I were talking about the quarterback situation at the Saints, and you said then you wouldn't be surprised if they tried to make some kind of a trade scenario work where they could get someone like Mac Jones, because you felt like he would be a great fit for this team. You remember saying that?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, he's a really impressive guy. If you listen to his press conferences, he's a perfect fit for the Saints, and I think he's going to be a perfect fit for the Patriots. So it made a lot of sense. If you're going into this transition period, which the Saints are in the post-Breeze era, it kind of makes sense to add another young, dynamic quarterback to the room.
This is Jeff Duncan from The Athletic. When we come back, we'll talk about the rest of the draft as it relates to the Saints. We'll get a quick update on the Pelicans, and if we have time left, we'll talk about the Kentucky Derby for a second. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation.
You can also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm. Super Talk, Mississippi.
It just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on Super Talk, Mississippi.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends.
We're talking to Dale Berra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, two streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera slips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Super Talk, Mississippi, your new home for the Ben Shapiro Show.
We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth.
The most electrifying national talk show on air today.
We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Ben Shapiro, brutally breaking down the issues of the day.
From politics to pop culture, we take a look at all of it. So don't miss out.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On Super Talk, Mississippi. Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on Super Talk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I have my friend Jeff Duncan from The Athletic, and when we went to break, we were talking about the draft and maybe a play they tried to make relative to Mac Jones. But the reality was, when you're picking 28, man, you're losing a lot of your bargaining power. But Jeff, the last time you and I talked, you said for sure their first round pick is going to be a cornerback. Were you disappointed?
Well, I think it made a lot of sense to me that they didn't go cornerback at 28. Once Greg Newsome, the cornerback from Northwestern, went off the board right ahead of them, I think at 26. The grade just did not match up on any other corner to take them at number 28. So the Saints do what they always do, Ricky. They took the highest graded player on their board, and that was, gosh, I'm blanking on his name, Peyton Turner.
Yeah.
Houston, this defensive end, who they had a very high grade on. I've talked to people internally about him. They think he's going to be a star player down the road, and they value taking big men in the first round. We've seen it in the past with offensive linemen. They like taking defensive linemen. The feeling is there's only so many big, agile athletes that God put on this earth, and you better get them because there's a premium on them. You better get them early.
Well, once they made that selection, though, as you pointed out, there wasn't a higher graded cornerback. And it was clear that when they got to the second round, they're probably not going to pick a cornerback there either.
Yeah, they went with the linebacker out of Ohio State, who I think will end up being a starter for several years in the NFL, be a very solid player, their kind of guy, very smart, durable, mentally tough, can be like the defensive captain kind of guy, Pete Werner. And then I think they came back and they traded up to get Paulson Adebo, a corner who they really like out of Stanford, who's kind of raw, Ricky. I mean, he's got all the skill set and all the size, speed ratio traits they look for, but he's a little raw. I doubt that they will go into the season with him starting at cornerback opposite Lattimore. That's why I think they're going to be very active in trying to either trade for a cornerback, a veteran corner, or sign one in free agency. They've been linked to Richard Sherman a lot. That, I think, could be a possibility, but I also think they are going to explore every avenue in the trade market to try and pull off something to get another starting corner in there. That way they can bring this Adebo kid along slowly.
I actually read a review on Sherman last year, actually, where the people were making the argument that it was his head and his experience that were sort of outweighing the fact that he had lost some of his step. Now we're here a year later. Has he lost his step?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, he's very similar stage of his career as Malcolm Jenkins, who they brought in a year ago. Philadelphia felt like it was time to move on from him. We saw Malcolm Jenkins play very well last year. These smart guys like that, they know their strengths and weaknesses and can compensate. And I think the Saints have enough good players in their secondary. Really, that's the strength of their defense with the safety position and Marshawn Lattimore. They just need to fill that other spot. Sherman would make sense, but I don't think that that's the focus right now. I think the focus is trying to find a corner via trade.
Be very interesting because, I, as you said so many times on the show, they're deeply concerned about it. They need to fill that slot. And, we'll see what happens. I probably will make a big trade. Anything else on the draft before we shift gears?
No, just to follow up on Peyton Turner, I do think that is a good investment for down the road. You don't know what you're getting right now from Marcus Davenport, their first-round pick from a few years ago. Cam Jordan's play dropped off last year. He's going to be 32 this summer. You have to kind of take care of that position long-term. So I think it makes sense. And that's, unfortunately, Ricky, media types, fans, they tend to look at what's in the now, the present. Guys like Mickey Loomis, they're looking 2 and 3 years down the road when they make these picks, and that's what Peyton Turner was all about.
No doubt about it. Okay. Any thoughts about the Pelican situation at this moment?
Well, look, they got a big win, the second back-to-backs against the Golden State Warriors. They're still clinging to life. I think the real issue they've got is now they've got to play their next 6 games, 5 are on the road. They've not been a great road team. And it's hard to find one game in that stretch that you say that's a definite win. And Ricky, they're pretty much going to have at least a 4-2 record to have a chance to get that 10th playoff spot. So I think they're really put themselves in a difficult position. But it was encouraging to see them come back and beat the Warriors the other night and shut down Steph Curry on the second of a back-to-back. And I will plug my Zion story is finally coming out next week. I really hope people get a chance to read it. I think you're going to find out a lot about Zion Williamson that you didn't know about him off the court, what kind of person he is, his personality, his attitude. I think it's going to be very encouraging.
Well, as you said so many times on this show, I mean, he's a grounded young man. He's not out gallivanting. He's a very private young man, and he's a great leader of this team. And he's somebody we're going to be talking about for many years to come, barring any major injury that hopefully he won't have. So in the closing thoughts, Kentucky Derby just happened, and I'm sure they were just thrilled to be able to, we got less than a minute, but to actually have the Kentucky Derby. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, it was great to see fans back in the stands, the pageantry of that sport, being a Louisville native. I mean, that's basically our Mardi Gras. And Bob Baffert won his 7th Kentucky Derby with basically his seahorse. Amazing. But yes, it's another return to normalcy in the sports world.
Well, Jeff, we could go an hour every Friday, but listen, I really, really appreciate your time. You bring so much value here to Coast Vue. And I look forward to staying in touch, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, looking forward to it, Ricky. Have a great weekend.
You bet, bud. Take care. And we'll see you on Monday morning. Thanks.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.